Are you ready for some football? Today, as we tape this, is September 5th. In about a few hours, they're going to be kicking off the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. So we're here for, I believe it's our 8th season of In the Bleachers, and it's our 5th season of In the Bleachers football. We took 2 or 3 years off.
A little hiatus.
So I'm joined today by Rich Ferrara, who is also our Patriots insider, and the coach.
Got both our names right this week. Excellent.
That's a good start.
Anyways, we have a normal list. We're going to go around the table, and let's start off, guys. This last week, they had the hatchet when it came to the wide receivers core. I think all three of us were saying before that we, math-wise, we thought there'd be 2.
Yep.
We didn't realize it'd be 3. We didn't realize they had other plans down the line. But, Rich, if we can start off, your 2 cents about the cuts, if they surprised you, and go from there.
Well, I'll start with giving you credit. You called the Dion Branch cut. So
I didn't see that coming at all. Did you?
No, not at all. Well, like I said, I figured Gaffney was going to get cut because he hadn't been able to stay on the field.
Yep.
I figured it was between Stallworth and Branch. I didn't think both would get axed, like you just said. I was completely caught off guard. But rumor mill, they have not ruled out bringing Branch back after week 1, which they can bring veterans back. His locker is still intact. So that's got to be a telling sign.
That's interesting.
And
I
do
do Brian
want
Waters, too. His lock is still
Yeah,
there.
but they gave him away his jersey number to Hightower.
54 with the Hightower, so that doesn't bode too well.
I'm giving up on White. If he shows up, great. If he doesn't. But
Yeah,
as far as the
win.
receivers go, I was pretty surprised. It left us pretty thin, but we're carrying a lot of tight ends. So to me, that means Hernandez, they're assuming, is a wide receiver, and they're going to line someone else up tight instead of him.
Now, what about Salas? And I may be pronouncing the name wrong. We picked up another receiver after we cut those 3.
Yeah.
What's your take on him?
Well, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I looked a little bit. That's a McDaniel's favorite, I guess. He was someone that Josh had a lot to do with when he was with the Rams, and I guess when it came down to it and they looked at the talent pool, this kid seemed to have more for him than against them.
He's certainly a lot younger than the guys they cut
Absolutely.
off. I think he's like
step
26.
towards youth. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get into the age thing again?
Yeah.
We'll go with 26.
Hey,
but
flying.
Yeah, no, he showed good flashes last year. He was
Yeah.
having a good season under Josh McDaniels. He understands the offense. Fortunately, he broke his leg after 6 games last year. But before that, he had 25 catches through the first quarter of the season, and that's not too bad. So it looks like something that they want to build on.
yeah.
Okay, so the bottom line is what I think we found out for sure is this is a tight end team, where they may play partly as wide receivers, but they got Gronkowski and Hernandez, and they're going to make sure they get the touches. I mean, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they're carrying 5 altogether, right, with Salas.
Yeah, well, they
now.
actually just today signed another tight end, Michael Humananara. I can't pronounce his last
I saw
name,
that too.
but another Rams
So
guy.
that's 6.
Yeah, another Rams
6
guy.
tight ends they
They
carry.
brought him over. He knew Josh McDaniels' system.
I think that's
And
Goodell.
Goodell's calling Dave, letting him know what's going on.
Commissioner.
Yes.
It's the commissioner.
Right now I'm taping a show. But can I call you back? All right, thank you very much. That was Coach Belichick.
Well, sometimes you got to put him on hold. I mean, there's more important things than talking to the coach of the team.
No offense, Coach. Taping a show.
Yeah, he should know better than
Basically, he wanted to just touch base on the signing you had mentioned.
Okay.
He, as you're aware, he has a sad life feed of our show, and he's
In
been
Red's
with us
office,
since the beginning. Yes.
We saw it down there. It was just ITB feed. It says.
Yeah. The more I think of it, I kind of hated to blow him off, but hey, we got a show to go. Sorry, Coach. We'll catch you later. All right, let's talk about the Dan Copen cut.
I was surprised. I'm not surprised they cut him. I'm surprised they waited as long as they did to cut him.
Yeah.
You figure a veteran like that, he might have known it was a foregone conclusion he was going to get cut, and maybe cut him a little earlier to let him find another team. But maybe there's something else in the works. Maybe it's something like I was mentioning with the Branch. Maybe they bring him back for depth later in the season, pending injury or something. As you said, Waters is still nowhere to be seen. His locker's still intact too. It's like I'm totally confused with that whole situation.
Well, I'm going to unconfuse you.
Straighten this out, Dave.
Yeah, I will. Copen's all done. You can hold your breath all day long. He had a good career. There may be a future for him somewhere as an offensive line coach, but he's not coming back after 13 years. That's my take. The other guy, Waters, I have to admit, I thought he was going to be back this week. I thought it was going to be one of those junior sale deals they were doing. He wanted to be on the West Coast, and we're going to say, you know what, you've done it. You've run the gauntlet for 14 years. We're going to treat you, we're going to treat you a little differently. But he'd have to be there now, and now he ain't. So now I have to admit I'm as confused as you are.
Yeah, I mean, he did that only a couple of. Roman Pfeiffer had a deal like that with him too, where he kind of took a pass on preseason work and just got to start.
Yeah.
But I don't know, where so many people were vying for it was such a tight cut, especially going from 72 to 53. I mean, there's a ton of people they put on the wire, so I don't think they would just be holding a spot for someone, no matter how good he is. And like you said, he would have been here already. So I agree. I think and then you see 54 on Hightower now, so that boat sailed, I think.
Another telling sign that he probably may not return.
Yeah. Well, let's segue from him into the offensive line.
Yep.
Watching the talking heads, who I have about this much respect for.
How much? Right there.
Right there. But the one thing they're bringing up is, you have a right to question the offensive line. It ain't the line we've had all those years with Matt Light and Copen. I mean, it's a totally different thing. So, Rich, what do you think?
Well, this is the first time heading into a season, as long as I can remember, that there's so many question marks on the offensive line. You figure the left tackle position, everyone knew that would be Matt Light. He never missed a game. He'd be there. He'd be there to start the game. Now we have Nate Solder, who looked a little shaky with some of those faster pass rushes in the preseason. We have Vollmer on the other side.
I think a little shaky is euphemistic. Continue.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He did look okay last year, so maybe.
Sure did.
So then Vollmer on the other side has injury issues. He's coming back from back surgery. A lot of question marks there. Question marks on the inside with, as we just mentioned, Waters nowhere to be seen, so now he has to be replaced. I can't ever remember a season going in where there's been this many question marks.
Now, is Conley the center?
I believe he's the guard, and I believe Wendell.
Yeah, Wendell is.
Wendell. Okay,
center, yeah.
all right. And
Ryan Wendell.
I had to look at the starting this morning.
I think Conley was going to be the center if Waters came back, but with Waters not here, I think they slide Conley to guard.
Who makes the line calls, which is he'll come up and actually the guard makes the line calls, not the center. So that's a little bit of a Belichick.
And then of course Logan, the only sure thing on the line at the other guard position.
Solid play.
Yeah. Now, Coach, as an old lineman, what's your take?
Well, I had to argue with Rich. I mean, it really has a lot of questions to it, but at the end of the day, I don't think they'd be putting a franchise out there without a line that they knew had his back at some level. Solder, I think, has just got a little bit of the second, third year Willie here. He'll be fine. Vollmer is just a solid player. Just to see him in person when we were down there, what an imposing figure. I mean, just a huge guy.
Yeah, you just don't know what you got with him now.
And then you got your toughness right in the middle with Menkins. And again, with all that youth around him, I got to think that's going to, hopefully that rubs off on him, like it did with Coppen, like it did with, Light, giving that type of wisdom and that mentorship to Vollmer when he first came up, and now Solder. So I think, just to touch base real quick on Coppen, as you had mentioned, they let him go at the end. I don't know if that really just wasn't, because you're right. If they do right by the player, that's to let him go earlier so he can go catch with somebody. To let him go at the last cut is really kind of tough on the player. But that's why I think maybe it was they were trying to let him see if he could aspire to get onto the team.
Yeah.
And it just like you said, he was damaged goods.
And it could also have been a very simple conversation. Dan, this is the deal. You may not make the team. Do you have an interest in playing somewhere else? And some of these guys, he played 13 years all the Patriots.
Sure.
It might have been, you know what? If I can do one more year at the Patriots,
my
fine.
here, my kids
Otherwise I have no interest in finishing my career being a backup for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Right.
So that could have been part of it. They might have given him every last shot that they could.
I'm sure they were on a mutual understanding heading into the last couple of weeks of training camp.
Yeah, and
I'm sure Belichick wouldn't jerk him around like that.
I don't think so. Not maybe a first or second year player, but not someone with rings and that's been through the.
No, I think if he wanted to catch on, they would have released him sooner. I really think it was either I play for the Patriots or I.
Unfortunately, people get hurt during the year, so it is nice knowing you've got a local guy kind of sitting in the wings that probably could step in if he needed to.
I guess
knows the playbook, knows all the pass structure,
Coach, I'm not sure you heard me a little while ago. He will never play again.
Really? I mean, even
he's already gained 20 pounds. He's sitting there with donuts, and these guys that you let him out, and man, they just want to eat. He's all done.
Well, the interior has some good backups. I mean, Marcus Cannon, who we didn't mention, struggled a little bit, but he's better on the interior. They were playing him at right tackle a lot. Yep. Daniel Thomas, a kid from Oregon, who they brought in this preseason, has looked all right, and not to mention maybe the best backup and most versatile of them all is Nick McDonald.
Yeah.
And he's a great backup to have insurance policies, but there's still question marks, and they're going to be under some heavy scrutiny if they don't keep the franchise upright this Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Again, they play a lot of screens and short passes, so that certainly helps. Isn't like they're trying to get Moss downfield. But, if the first few weeks they ain't doing it, don't be surprised to see more running. Because you're right, they're not gonna allow him to get killed out there.
No. Well, you'll see that they've already talked about a 3 tight end set. I'm looking for. I mean, just to see how they come out, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, you've got 3 tight end sets, which we watched a little bit down in practice, but you can imagine you put Gronk in motion, you could still have 2 double tight ends. You could go strong. They're using a fullback set, which means they've got an extra blocker in there just in case.
They haven't used the fullback since 07. Since Heath Evans.
I was going to say Heath Evans, and
I can tell that it's football season. You're getting giddy, my friend.
Yes, it's tonight. Wednesday night. That's weird, Dave, huh?
Yeah,
do you remember it? It never started on Wednesday night. Thursday night, but
Thursday.
never
Wednesday.
To lead to stretching and stretching.
Hey,
and stretching.
somebody did some math and said, "Hey, we can make another $1.
Make as much beer sales on Wednesday night as we can on Thursday night."
There you go. All right. We're going to need to pick it up a little if we want to cover everything. But defensive backfield, that has been our Achilles for the last many, many years. What do we think? We'll start with Coach.
Yeah, I think you've showed it up quite a bit. You see Arrington. I mean, again, health is the trump card for all of this, right? So if Chung gets healthy and can come back and actually play a full season, Arrington, I mean, he was fairly healthy. I mean, I think he comes into his own this year. You got the Rook that's going to be in on dime packages.
And who would that be?
Raz Dowling.
Dowling, and also, did Ebert make... No, Tavin Wilson. I'm sorry.
Tavin Wilson will be there at safety. Alfonso Dennard, who was a guy I thought was on the brink of being cut, he made it, and Marcus Cole, the old former Jet. So they have some solid depth.
Right, not even Kyle McCourty, and I mean, so you have some depth there. And they even still cut people.
Ebner made this team as a safety.
He got cut, right?
He did. He's looks like he might jump on with Baltimore.
Steve Gregory, was hurt a little bit in that last. I haven't seen the latest injury report on him, but he'll probably be back in there solid. He was getting tons of reps. Yeah,
I think we'll be not vastly improved, but slightly improved in the defensive backfield. A lot of people look at the numbers, and the numbers get skewed because we gave up so many yards, but we're winning a lot of games where teams are forced to throw. If you look at our points given up per game, we're middle of the pack, and I think we'll actually improve upon that this year. So I'm not as skeptical with the defense heading into the season as most people are.
Yeah, I think just to put a cap on the defensive backs, I think the thing we haven't had for a couple of years maybe is a pass rush. And I think with the advent of Chandler Jones and the linebacking squad we might actually put a little pressure on the quarterback. And all of a sudden, that extra second, you don't have to cover those guys. That can make these guys look really good in the backfield.
You don't get exposed as much if you don't give the quarterback as much time to sit back there and pick you apart.
It's hard to hold somebody for 4 seconds, and especially in this league where the refs are going to call everything when you touch them,
Coach, do I call you genius enough?
Well, sure.
Okay, because you are a genius. Because I think what you've touched base on is, it isn't that they've all been tomato cans in that backfield. It's just that they've been out there having a Coke and a Pepsi to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And if you improve the defensive line, then you automatically improve the defensive back. And I think you hit it on the head. Yeah. I'm not sure. We don't have any powerhouses coming in there. There's no Deion Sanders showing up back there. But if you can take one more second away from them, which we haven't had since Seymour left, and even before that, Seymour wasn't at his best a year or two before that. Yep. So I think you hit it. I think if we give him the rush, I think that backfield will do okay.
Yeah, one more man.
All right. Well, we're going to now go into the big sphere of things, and we'll start off with you, Coach. When it's all said and done, who do you think will be the NFL's biggest surprise team?
Surprise team, I think, will be the Buffalo Bills. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but ultimately, this team has been quietly putting some pieces together up there. They've got Mario Williams now, and I think that changes that defense dramatically. Like you said, that extra second, the backfield don't need to cover those wide receivers. And, I know Chan Gailey gets zero respect, and there's zero expectations for him.
Nor should he.
Nor should he. But he did, put together a decent season. And the kid Fitzpatrick, he puts numbers up, in a tough division. Mm-hmm. So I think the Bills will surprise people and probably show up second place underneath us. And, again, let the Jets and the Dolphins fight up for last. That's fine.
Okay, Rich?
I'm actually going to go with the St. Louis Rams. Probably a big surprise. I'm not picking them to make the playoffs or anything, but I think they definitely can improve upon a 2-14 season. Maybe 6-10, 7-9, somewhere in there. They play in the NFC West. They'll have 2 games against the Seahawks and the Cardinals, so you can win a couple of those. But they have Jeff Fisher, loves to run the football.
Yep.
Steven Jackson is as good of a workhorse as you can find in the NFL. They have Sam Bradford, who took a step back, who I think takes a giant step back forward this year, and he's looked great in the preseason. It is preseason, albeit, but he has looked good. I think that he has good receivers around him, and Danny Amendola, Steve Smith. They have a couple of good rookies in Brian Quick. I think they'll be vastly improved. A very underrated middle linebacker in James Laurinaitis. I think that they will be. People are picking them to be 2-14 again, the laughing stock of the league. I disagree. I think, like I said, I'm not picking them to make the playoffs, but as a sleeper team, you probably don't want them on your schedule towards the end of the season.
6-10 would be a huge upgrade for them, and you get to see them right away, right? They're playing Detroit this week.
Yes.
So there's the bell ringer right away. We'll see how they do.
Yep. And they play us week 9.
Okay. Biggest disappointment. Coach, we'll start with you again.
Disappointing team this year?
Yeah, in other words, that people expect something from.
Oh,
and
okay.
They're not someone that we know is going to be lousy, and guess what? They're lousy.
Right.
But someone that people are talking playoffs, and they're just not going to make.
I'm going to say the Denver Broncos, and I'll say that because they've pinned everything on the horse-faced jackass, and I really think that he's.
Wasn't it scary when we thought you'd never be able to say that again?
I know. It was when he was down. He had his neck injury.
Last year? That was terrible not having him.
I knew he'd come back. He's like a bad penny. He always comes back. But I listened to John Elway on the NFL Network, and boy, what a different tune he's singing. When he had Tebow, he would just you couldn't buy a compliment from the guy, even when Tebow was playing real well. And now he just talks about having a caliber of a player, this type of caliber. And I watched him in the preseason. He looked terrible. Terrible. Yeah. The first touchdown pass he got, they yanked him off the field quickly so he wouldn't mess that up. He's already yelling at his players. He was, this is an offense he's walking into, and he's yelling at his linemen for not having the right count. It's already, I see that just going to go spiral into the ground.
They can say what they want. That Armstrong thing all the way back, nor will it ever be. I mean, he's no kid.
Nope, and he's taken quite. I mean, I have know a little bit about neck surgery and that, and it's just hard to come back from that stuff and to continue to play at a high level as he does or as he's trying to do. So I think that'll be the big fun story to watch. Just the inflated hopes they have in Denver and the deflated outcome they're going to have with the horse-faced jackass out there in Bronco Inn.
Rich?
I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions, not because I think they're a bad team, just I think Chicago oversteps them again this year. I think Chicago is a better team than them all around. Their defense is very weak in the secondary, and they play in a division with Aaron Rodgers, Jay Cutler. Yep. I think they're going to get exposed back there. They lost their best cornerback in free agency to Tampa Bay and Eric Wright, and they have no running game to speak of. Javid Best is on the PUP list. Mikel Assor is on the suspension for a couple games. Kevin Smith has never been durable in his career, and that will force teams to go into a nickel-dime package, see if you can beat me by the run. Other than that, we'll just take away the deep ball to Calvin Johnson. Take it away as best you can. You can't really take it away from Megatron, but you can do your best to make them have to make difficult plays.
Now, would you say that that's still a disappointing team if that's a different coach in there? I mean, to me, I think that coach just lets that team run amok. How many penalties have they stepped on their own foot, and taken them out of games where they really should have had games?
Way too many, and that's where I think will ultimately be their undoing this year, because they'll get behind in games and they're not disciplined enough to stay focused and come back. I think they'll unravel a lot in the second, fourth quarter, and I see them finishing maybe a very disappointing 7-9, 8-8 versus last year when they were a playoff team.
8-8 even would be a terrible
considering last year, and people are riding high on them again this year.
Absolutely, Rich. Yep.
My feeling is, as far as disappointments, I'm going to go one step. I'm going to try and outdo you both. Instead of picking a team, I'm going to pick a city and a state and say that both New York teams will finish under 500.
Wouldn't that be something?
Well, the Jets, they're just waiting to
Did they score a touchdown in preseason?
Did they score one?
They did one.
Greg
McElroy, the guy who was so outspoken about the locker room being terrible, was the only one that led him to a touchdown.
Okay, so him, and I just think the Giants. I don't see it.
We'll see tonight, right? We'll see tonight.
Yeah, we'll see.
Being
right
Wednesday,
off the
although
bat.
this will be seen over this weekend.
And the Cowboys, I would have picked them, but they're just disappointments every year. So I don't think that'd be fair. But I think both New York franchises will fight each other to see who disappoints the fans more, and that's what makes
It's a feel-good story.
it brings tears to my eyes. Okay, boys. What did we used to call this segment?
The Fab Four.
The Fab Four. The Fab Four comes back out of retirement, where we pick 4 of what we consider to be the big games of the week, and then each week when we come back, the first thing we do is let you know how we did, and we also accumulate them over the course of the year. So
Huge prizes at the end of the year.
yeah, very big prizes. Okay, let's start off with the Green Bay Packers against the San Francisco 49ers. Coach?
I'm going to take the Niners here. I know that's definitely not a popular pick, but I figured you guys will take Green Bay, and I'll have one ahead of you. So there's my strategy right there. How you like that?
I like it.
I am
Go
going
the other way.
Going Green Bay. As good as the San Francisco 49ers D is, their weak point is the secondary, and Aaron Rodgers and that receiving core will have a field day.
Are they playing in San Francisco?
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Then I'm going to have to go with Green Bay, because I consider it to be a close game.
Yeah.
But we'll go with Green Bay.
Can do a fantasy side point here, so I've got 49ers, one of my fantasy teams, and I also have the Jaguars as my backup one. Who do you play to? I mean, I did the #1 defense in fantasy, and I got them, and I'm tempted to pull them off the field this week.
If you take a look right here at my fantasy stardom situm, you'll see that San Francisco is
It's a
under
sit-em.
my situm.
To sit them. All right. Jackson will be in. Thanks, bud.
All right, so let's for future generations to be able to know how smart the 3 of us were. Me and Rich have Green Bay, and the coach has 49ers.
Correct, Mundo.
Okay, Bills and the Jets. Coach, take it again.
I'm going to go with the Bills, my surprise team. Jets are garbage. I don't care where this game's played. They're just terrible. And I hope the Bluebirds come out as soon as... It's just... the only reason to watch this is to see the complete destruction of an NFL
which is a
football
great
team,
reason to watch
which is
it.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, Bills.
I concur. Bills.
I have no reason to pick any other way.
Yeah.
Bills.
You can't go Jets.
No.
That would be wrong.
Okay, I consider this one to be the most intriguing matchup of the week. Steelers and the Broncos. Rich, we'll start with you this time.
I was tempted to go with the Broncos, but I'm going to go with the Steelers. Even though they will be without maybe their defensive captain, Ryan Clark, because he can't play in Denver because of the altitude, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
Wow, there's some insight. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he can't play. He couldn't play in the playoff game last year.
Yeah.
That's
He can
right.
never
Oh,
play.
Yeah, that's right.
As the altitude gets to him. He played once like 4 years ago and he almost died. So since then, Coach Tomlin will not let him play.
Wow. That does change little things a bit, but I like the Steelers going into this, and I think I'm going to stick with it. Again, I think Denver comes out high expectations, and he's just going to throw a couple of picks. That defense is still a really formidable defense. Our friend with the long hair might have a couple of picks on that game and maybe take one back. So I'll go with Pittsburgh on that one, Dave.
Okay, so did you pick
Pittsburgh as well, yeah.
Okay.
Big Ben.
All right. I think the Broncos are going to annihilate them, and I think the horse-faced jackass is going to throw for at least 3 touchdowns.
All right, there you go.
That's my 2 cents on it.
Ever since Branch, I can't give him a hard time.
Yeah.
He's get some sort of insight to the wisdom.
You got to
You
get
know.
some of those outlandish ones right every once in a while.
Well, they're outlandish to someone that isn't as seasoned as me. To
Take
me, it wasn't
that.
outlandish. It wasn't
Gauntlet's
outlandish at
down.
all.
Can you tell it's week 1? I like it, boys. I
wasn't-
like it.
It wasn't outlandish at all to me. And some might say the horse-faced jackass. Isn't it funny? His boss now is the ultimate horse-face, Elway.
Yeah.
Who was surely the first horse-face.
Yeah, the original.
But
That whole
yeah,
teeth thing.
him throwing 3 touchdowns. I don't call that outlandish. But
We'll see.
we'll see. So mark that one down. And then Patriots and the Titans. And boys, we got 1 minute left. So let's bring it in, Coach.
So yeah, I gotta love the Pats here. I think the Vegas line was 12 last time I seen it. I think they'll cover that easily.
And again, so everyone knows we're picking without the spread.
This is without the spread. I'm just for anyone that might be interested in that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
not that you ever would.
for newspaper purposes only, of course. Yeah, I just think that they got so much to really prove here this year. You know, going and losing again like they did last year, they really got a bug in their bonnet. And I love just the whole attitude at camp. I mean, the fights. They've just been dying to play someone with different color uniforms on, and unfortunately, it's Tennessee's problem.
I'm going with the Patriots because we're under the gun here. If you want to see why I have the Patriots and my Titans-Patriots game preview, you can visit www.patsfaninsider.com and get all that. I have a whole
I like
write-up
your
on
Twitter
it.
feed too.
It's Rich Flair at PatsFanInsider, and I'll be tweeting during the game, and you can tweet with me. And
And there's 2 hours within Flora.
2 hours, correct.
You just go to Pats Fan Insider. They actually just go to the website, and you'll see your tweet. Every tweet comes in, will be live on the front page.
Okay, the Patriots in a landslide, and there we go. We have our first picture of the week. We'll have one by the great Scott the Fly Wallace.
Scott, we've commissioned him to put a little rendering of each game, and here is apocalyptic Pat Patriot for 2012, beating the hell out of Tommy the Titan Tiger, he calls him. So, and always in the background, you'll see the Vince Lombardi Trophy
There it is.
ultimately our goal.
All right, well, guys, we've started up. We'll see where we are next week, and I have no doubt I will be 3-0. You two, we'll see how you do.
Well,
3-0.
4-0
We
would be
picked
good.
4 games. If you want to go 3-0, that's fine. There you go, Jim.
Was that real close?
That's
a wrap.
definitely a
See you
wrap.
next week.